Good afternoon, everybody, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to this, the 14th edition of the Emirates Airline Festival of Literature. We're very fortunate to have with us today Julia Johnson and Maitha Khayat, who are going to tell you the story of a wonderful little girl and how, with a little bit of imagination, you can also be a pearl diver. Please welcome Julia Johnson and Maitha Khayat.
Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Lovely to see
Welcome.
you, so many people. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I became a writer.
Yes.
And then Maitha's going to tell you a little bit about how she became an illustrator and a writer as well, because she's both very clever. You all like stories? Of course you do, otherwise you wouldn't be here, would you? I love sharing stories, and that's what the festival is all about, isn't it? Sharing stories. Here I am, sharing stories with lots of children and my favourite character, Humpy Grumpy Camel. I don't know if you've ever met him. Now, when I was growing up, I was very, very lucky because I had a dad who was really keen on funny poems, silly rhymes, things like "'Twas brillig and the slithy tove did gyre and gimble in the wave." Have you ever heard that one? No. Well, lots of made-up words in there, and my dad loved made-up words. And my mum loved to tell stories, and she used to make up stories when we went on walks together. So I was very lucky to grow up in a family that loved books and storytelling. And do you know which one's me?
Can I see which one is you?
Which one do you think's me, Maitha?
Let me see.
Do you think I'm the grumpy one or the smiley one?
Well, I think you're the smiley one.
I'm the smiley one.
She does have a beautiful smile.
Well, my sister got a smile eventually, but not there. And that's my dog Toto. So my mum was a great animal lover, and we had all sorts of pets as we grew up. Do any of you have pets? Cats? Dogs? What about these? Rabbits. Anybody got a rabbit? Oh, well, my sister and I used to... Oh, somebody's got rabbits. My sister and I used to love trundling our rabbits in a wheelbarrow round the garden, pretending they were our children.
That's so cute.
And my mum, of course, because she loved animals so much, she fed me books which had animal stories in them. So these are some of the books that I loved when I was young. And this one's all about a toad and a badger and a ratty called Wind in the Willows. I bet you've heard of that one, haven't you?
I've heard of that one.
Have you?
I loved it when I was a little girl. And Heidi.
Heidi. And what about What Katie Did? Has anybody heard of that one? Only if we're very old. And I loved dressing up. Who likes dressing up? I still like dressing up. Because when you dress up, you can be somebody else. You stop being you and you pretend. So I love playing games of pretend. And of course, in stories, you're pretending too. And acting is a way of telling stories. So this is me. Do you know which one's me?
Which one?
Which one do you think's me? Is it this one? No. You can still see it's me. That's good.
The one with the big smile.
That must have been taken at least 50 years ago, so I'm glad you can still tell it was me. So that's me in a play. And when I came to Dubai, I started telling stories on the radio. And so I had to read lots and lots of books to choose stories that were suitable to read on the radio to people like you. And that did me lots of good in becoming an author.
Do you listen to the radio?
Anybody listen to the radio?
Do you listen? Yeah?
Would you listen to CDs of stories?
That's good.
I've made lots of CDs of stories, some of them mine, some of them other people's. Oh, that's a good place to listen, isn't it? In the car.
Excellent. Yeah, you're like your daddy.
And then I told stories on the television. So after I'd read lots and lots and lots of books to choose suitable ones, I started writing about the books. That's called writing a review and saying what you like about a book and what you didn't like about a book. And that made me want to write my own stories. But first, I began by making up stories with other people. And we had a company called Caravan, because you know what caravans do? Do they stay in one place? No. What does a caravan of camels do? It goes for a long walk, doesn't it? And it stops at different places. So we called our theatre company Caravan because we went round schools and stopped at lots of different schools, and we acted our stories to an audience of people like you.
I love this, Julia. Let's do one here.
Yeah, maybe we should. Well, actually, later on, I think we're all going to act our story.
Oh, yes.
So, wait and see. So this one is all about going to a planet that was very dark and taking colour and light there. And so that we didn't forget the story, what do you think we did? What do you do so that you don't forget something? I certainly do. You write it down. That's right, you write it down.
Give him a clap for him. Excellent.
Very good.
Yes.
And of course, the older you get, the more you have to write things down. Because you forget things. I'm always forgetting things. And here, what do you think I am?
What is this?
This is another. I'm not a frog. What looks a bit like a frog? Put your hand up if you know. Yes. Do you know? It begins with a T. Toad. That's right. I was the toad because toads don't jump quite as high as frogs. And my friend Frog, she used to be a dancer, so she could jump very high. So we did a story about a frog and a toad who lived in a wadi in the mountains of Arabia. And we took it round schools. And so we didn't forget it, we wrote it down.
Excellent.
And I'm going to pass over to Maitha now, who's going to tell you a bit about her.
Okay, so like David introduced us, my name is Maitha, and I'm a mom. I'm an illustrator and a writer as well. I write books and draw as well. And I come from the United Arab Emirates, and I don't live in Dubai. Can you guess? Maybe? Of course you would know. You're my son. So, but anyway. Okay. So I have many hobbies, and I'm sure a lot of you have so many hobbies, but my hobbies are drawing, reading, and writing, and cooking as well. I love food so much. I've written over 170 books. Most of them are in Arabic, and you will find some of them outside in Magrudi's. And these are some of them, the ones that I've written and illustrated. And these are the graded readers that I've written. Most of the chunk of the books that I've written come from here. And I write for bigger children, chapter books, and also young adult Tofan. And I also like writing comic books and TV series as well. But I'd like to, say how much I'm so happy that I'm finally working with Julia Johnson, where we're like team members. Do you know when in classroom or in a football team you're put in a team? And there are different people working together. So we were 3 teams. The first team was the writer. She wrote the book, Aisha's Pearl. The second team, which is me, is the illustrator. I drew the book. And the third is ELF, Emirates Literature Foundation. They're the ones that put Julia's story and my illustrations together to create this book. So it's a wonderful team, isn't it?
It is. It's an excellent team. We've enjoyed working together, and hopefully we're going to do it again.
Yeah, and so, but where do I get my ideas? When I first started writing children's books, I never thought that I could be a writer. But then my sister challenged me, and the first book I've written was I Love My Dad's Long Beard. And it was inspired by my children, Umar, Naima, Ibrahim, Aisha. Yusuf wasn't born yet at that time. So but when I wrote the story, I was putting my kids to bed one time, and they started crying, I want daddy, because their daddy was traveling at that time. And I thought, okay, why do you want daddy? What's so special about dad? I cook for you, I read stories, I play with you, I clean you and wash you up. Daddy doesn't do any of this. Why do you want Daddy and you don't want me? And they said, well, Mum, you don't have a beard. Daddy has a beard and it's tickly and it smells so nice. And that's how I thought of writing my first book, I Love My Dad's Long Beard. And from then on, I started writing, and I met Julia at the Emirates Airline Festival of Literature. And that was about more than 10 years ago,
I think
right?
So, yes.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
And these are some of these things that I've been doing at the Emirates Airline Festival of Literature, and some of you over here are regular fans who come all the time to my sessions. But how about you, Julia? Where do you get your ideas?
Well, I got my ideas from here. Because I came to live here more than 40 years ago in 1975. When things were very different back then.
Julia, that was before I was born.
Thank you, Maitha. We don't need to know that.
Okay.
So, my stories have all been inspired by things that have happened in this part of the world, by creatures that live in this part of the world, because remember, I love to write stories with animals in them. So, leopard, there's a toad again, a donkey, turtle, a goat, and a Saluki hound, another camel, cheetah. Well, you wouldn't expect to find a cheetah here, would you? But this cheetah was found in a souk. So it's the story. It really was. It was based on truth. A lot of my stories are based on real things, real happenings. And I put a little bit of my own special magic in and to create the story. So, what was the inspiration for Aisha's Pearl? Well, first of all, it was my trip to the museum. Who's been to the museum? Ooh, I hope the rest of you will make a trip to the museum because it's really, really interesting. And do you know, it opened a long time ago. Do you recognize the building? Do you know what the building is? It is a museum, but do you know what it once was? A fort.
A fort, excellent. Who said that?
Well done.
Well done.
And a very important person was born in that fort. He used to be the ruler of Dubai. His Highness? No?
The ruler of Dubai.
A long time ago. It was His Highness Sheikh Rashid, the father of Dubai. So he was born here before it became a museum. Anyway, in 1975, the museum had just opened, and I went along to see what Dubai and the Emirates was all about. And I saw an exhibition of, what do you think this person's doing?
It's like he's hanging upside down.
He is hanging upside down. Do you know what he's doing?
Yeah.
Diving. He's diving.
Excellent. Give her a clap.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's diving wearing a special white suit, a cotton suit. Do you know why he put a cotton suit on? Do you know what you can see in the water sometimes with long tentacles?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Yes. Octopus, that's true, but this one has tentacles that sting. Octopus has got arms that kind of wrap. Jellyfish! Well done. Back then, in the old days, when people dived, they called them devilfish.
Devil.
Much better word, I think, Maitha,
I
don't
think
you?
it really sounds exciting.
So I was intrigued. I was fascinated. And I started to collect things all about diving. This is a special kind of diving. I wonder if you can imagine what they were looking for. Pearls. They were pearl divers. And a long time ago, this part of the world depended on pearl diving. Most of the men who were young enough and strong enough went pearl diving during the summer months. And this is what they were looking for.
Pearls.
Does anybody know where you find a pearl? In the sea, yes, but it's inside something. It's not just lying in the sand. Who said that word? What did you say? Can you say it in a big voice?
Oyster.
In an oyster.
Clap for her. Excellent.
So that's what the divers were looking for. And so I wrote my very first storybook, The Pearl Diver, because I couldn't find a story about pearl diving for people like you. So that's what set me off. And after that, I had such fun writing it and doing research, I decided to write lots more stories. And I've written 3 stories now about pearl diving, and this last one was because Isabel said to me, we need a story for younger people like you. So that's why I wrote it.
So there are 3 parts now.
3 stories, one for 7 to 10s, this one's for older, and this one's for younger. And I told you I started collecting things.
What is this?
This Maitha, actually, would you like to wear them?
So,
Shall I dress you up?
Oh, yes, I
Where do you think this is going to go? On her head? I think she's not going to... She looks like a Chinaman, don't you, with a big hat?
Is that how you wear it?
No, that's not where you wear it. Where do you wear it? Do you know? Do you know where she wears it? Round her waist? No, I don't think so. What do you think? No? Round her hat? Round her neck, that's right.
I
no,
thought it was
it's not a handbag.
I love basket bags and crochet.
It's round your neck.
Okay.
Like that, Maitha.
Of course I knew that. I knew that.
Did you?
Yeah.
And do you know what this is?
But why is it like that?
Oh, yes. What do you think you're going to put in there?
Is it because when I eat something, it falls inside?
No. This is when you're diving, Maitha. When you're
yes,
a pearl
I remember.
diver.
Oh, but
so what are you going to put in the basket?
What do you think?
Oyster shells.
Yes.
You're going to pick up the oysters and put them in your baskets. Right. And before you go down into the water, you need to put this on your nose. What do you think that's for?
Oh, no, it doesn't fit my nose.
Yes, it does.
Oh, it does? Are you sure?
Does it?
No.
Have you got a big nose?
I'm trying to force... Oh, yes, I do. I have a big nose and I take it, thank you very much, after my father.
So the pearl divers put the peg on their noses so that the water wouldn't go up their nose. And one other thing they had was this. Maitha, would you like to see how heavy this is?
Oh, my God. Let me see. It's really heavy.
It's very heavy, but
We need somebody strong to lift it up. Oh, you're very strong, Julia. Oh, my God, look at her.
it's very heavy. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we can't invite you up to try it, but believe me, it's very heavy.
But what is it used for?
Well, let me tell you, it was called a sinking stone. Do you know what sinking means? What does sinking mean? Who hasn't answered? What does sinking mean? Do you know at the back? What does it mean? Sink in the water. Can you show me how you sink in the water?
Ooh.
Very good, that's right.
They can be excellent pearl divers, these.
They can, and later on, I think we're going to try that. So the pearl divers wanted to go down into the water very quickly because they had to hold their breath. See,
How long do
here
they
it-
have to hold their breath?
Well, some pearl divers, if they were really good divers, could hold their breath for more than 3 minutes.
Oh, wow. I
Next
can't
time
do that.
you're in the swimming pool, you can try holding your breath under the water. See how long you can hold it. So here's a pearl diver ready to go diving. And these are the oyster shells. They came like this. 2 parts of a hole. And if you were very lucky, inside you might find a pearl, a treasure. Do you like treasure hunting? Yeah, me too. It's exciting finding treasure, isn't it? Do you know what? My grandson, he's big now, he found a very old bottle in the stream where I live in England. And do you know what it had written on it? Poison. Wow. I thought that was a real find, a real treasure. Maybe I should write a story about that and where the bottle had come from and I wonder who it had poisoned. So when you write stories, you have to ask yourself, I wonder, and what if? Do you do that when you're writing stories? Yes, what if that happened, and what if this happened? So, this is the third story in my trilogy, Aisha's Pearl. Now, what about the story, Maitha, made you want to illustrate it? Because I had to wait for Maitha to read the story before I knew if she'd like to illustrate it, to draw the pictures.
So I had a phone call asking me from the Literature Festival if I can draw Julia's book, Aisha's Pearl. And I've always wanted, I love Julia, and I've always wanted to draw or illustrate her books and maybe collaborate with her. And I said, well, I'm so busy. I might think about it. I'll try and read the book or the story. And I did. I read the story and I loved it. And I said, yes, I agreed. And I said, yes, I'd love to draw the book. And it was just an amazing, amazing experience for me because I love pearl diving as well. And I've always wanted to be a pearl diver.
Well, now it's your chance.
I love pearls so much. Even my mother loves pearls so much. And every Mother's Day, I buy her pearls for her on her.
Well, I think one of the things, though, that attracted you to the story was the special relationship between the granddaughter and the grandfather. Who's this, Maitha?
This is one of the main reasons why I agreed to illustrate the book, is that I loved the relationship between the grandfather and Aisha in the story. And it reminded me of my grandfather. And this is me when I was a little girl. And he named me. He gave me my name, Maitha. And there was a special bond between my grandfather and I. And when I was growing up, he never called me Maitha. He would always say, Ummi, like mother, instead of calling me Maitha, because he sees his mother in me. So I felt that was so sweet, and I wanted to really illustrate that book because of this.
Well, I'm glad you agreed to. And I like including memories in my stories. So when I created the character of the grandfather, of course, I didn't know Maitha as Maitha's relationship with her grandfather, but lots of people have special relationships with their grandparents, don't they?
Yeah.
Who loves their grandparents?
Yes.
And gives them big hugs.
Let's give them all a big hug.
And loves reading stories with them. Yes? Well, this is one of my grandmas. This is my mum's mum.
Ooh.
And this is me. And I used to love sitting on my grandma's knee, and she lived near the sea. She lived in a big caravan near the sea.
You're
and
lucky.
she gave me my love of the sea. She taught me swimming, and I used to love to go in the sea with my grandma. She was a really special person, and she was very funny. So I think my sense of humor, if I've got one, probably comes from her as well.
And this is me when I was a little girl, and I was really naughty. But my grandfather was also a fisherman. He loved fishing, and it was his profession before he became a tailor. That's why my name is also Maitha al-Khayat. Maitha, tailor, means but my grandfather became a tailor afterwards.
That's
he
really
also,
interesting, because most Arabic names mean something, don't they?
Yes, they do. And even my name means something. So my grandfather taught my father to be a fisherman.
So this is your father?
This is my father.
With a catch?
Yes, and over here he has caught a really big fish. Do you know anyone who fishes? Do you have anyone who knows how to fish? Yeah? Your grandfather.
Is it a red snapper?
Yeah, he fishes all sorts of fishes. And over here, with my little brother, they've rescued a guy from drowning. Wow. So he knows how to swim as well. So my story, the story of Aisha's Pearl, when I drew the grandfather, I was thinking about my grandfather and also thinking about my father when I was drawing the grandfather.
Maitha, what did you find most difficult in the story? Was it the grandfather?
No, it wasn't the grandfather. You know what was really hard for me to draw? Can you guess what was the hardest thing for me to draw? Does anyone? The what? The mustache. No, that was really simple. You know, you just do. Maybe I could. Can anyone see? Can you see from this side? Well, the mustache is easy. When you draw a face, you know, you draw a circle, and then you draw the eyes, right? And then you draw the big nose. But the mustache is really easy to draw, you see? So, no, that was not the hardest thing for me. Can you guess? What was the hardest thing for me to draw in the book?
I can't imagine.
The hat. The hair? No. The
You
hair was really simple.
Maitha, you did a really good job showing the old pearl divers by giving grandfather a sketchbook. That was a great idea.
Yes.
So, could it possibly be the shell that was difficult?
Yes, the shell, the oyster. Can you imagine?
Here's a really big one. Can you draw that?
Oh, it was the hardest thing for me to draw. Who knows how to draw an oyster? You know how to draw? So raise your hands if you know how to draw a shell or an oyster. Huh? Okay, come here. This boy with the hulk on him. You can come. Well, let's do a competition between you and me. You just come all the way. Maybe come here. Come all the way around. Yes. Be careful. Don't fall. And then come up the stairs. Yeah. And then I'm going to give you a pen. Okay. And we're going to do a competition.
Okay. I'm going to hold the shell up. This is a very big one. They're not usually as big as that.
Come here, so we don't want
Should
you
we have
to
another
fall.
one this side, Maitha? Shall we pick another person to draw one this side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Who would like to draw an oyster?
So 1 minute on the count of 3.
Would you like
You're
to-
going to draw a huge oyster, okay? Just be careful not to fall, okay? Is he here behind you? Be careful. So 1 minute. 1 minute. Let's see. Yes.
So you're going to draw. Can you reach? Can you come over here? Do you think you can reach? Up here. Can you draw
Okay.
great
so
big oyster shell?
on the count of 3.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay? So 1, 2, 3.
Make it big so everybody can see it. Wow.
Oh, we have an artist over here.
Brilliant.
Let's see what your little girl is doing. Ooh, wow. she's
Very
doing
good
it.
shape, isn't
Yes,
it?
it's the right shape.
Interesting, isn't it, that they're all sort of knobbly and grotty on the outside and all beautiful and
Yeah.
sparkly on the inside.
Yeah? Do you think you need more? This is from the inside. Wow. We have an artist over here.
And another one, look.
Oh, wow, look at that.
She's putting all the little funny shells that are stuck on the outside. Do you know what they're called? Yeah? Do you know what they're called?
Have you finished?
They're called
Still? Oh, wow.
barnacles. Barnacles.
Barnacles.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Look at all the barnacles on that shell.
Yeah, and on that shell as
Wow, that's brilliant.
well. Amazing. Wow. Done. So I think you should sign your name over here. This is an excellent drawing.
Really? Are you signing your name?
This
Going to
is
sign your name?
Yusuf. Wow, come over here, Yusuf.
And what's your name? Hannah. Well done, Hannah. That was
Well
brilliant.
done.
Shall I take the pen? I don't know how we can tell between them.
But they look amazing. Give a round of applause for Yusuf and...
Thank you. So next time you have a problem, Maitha, you know who to ask.
Yes, all I have to do is ask children to help me draw the oyster.
Okay,
Thank
would you
you
like
so
to
much.
go back to your seat? Thank you very much.
No, you can go, but be careful.
Now, my story is set in the present day. I'm going to read it to you in a minute. You're probably wondering when it's going to happen. If you go diving today, you probably wear
Yeah.
What's this?
What's this called?
Goggles and a snorkel
Woo, good boy.
and flippers. But back then, the divers of old didn't have any of those things.
No, they didn't.
So this is me ready for a dive in all my gear.
You're so amazing, Julie. You do a lot of amazing
Well,
things.
I did it quite a long time ago. I haven't been diving for a while.
Okay. You could teach me, though.
Are you ready for the story? Yes. Maitha, could I let you show the illustrations while I read the story?
I'd be happy to.
And put my glasses on. Are we ready? If you've got a book, you can follow, can't you? Okay. Aisha's Pearl. Look what I found, cried Aisha, running into the house. She held out her hand. Her fingers were curled round something small. Guess, she told her brother Abdullah, who was building a space station. A feather, he said without looking. Aisha shook her head. Guess, she told her sister Mosa, who was playing on her tablet. A leaf, she said without looking. Aisha shook her head. Guess, she told her mother, who was making bread. A shell, she said, without looking. Aisha shook her head. The little girl wandered away to her secret place under the table. I wonder if you've got secret places like that. I have. And that was where Grandfather found her. I've been looking for you, he told her. Aisha smiled and crawled out from beneath the table. She held out a small closed fist. Guess, she told him. Give me a clue, said Grandfather. Aisha thought for a moment. It's round and smooth. A pebble, Grandfather guessed. Do you think he's right? No. More special, she said, and shiny. A marble, Grandfather said. Aisha shook her head. It's white, she told him. Round and smooth, white and shiny, and special. Grandfather closed his eyes to think, and Aisha thought he'd fallen asleep. She tapped him gently. Look, she said, and opened her hand. A beautiful, round, smooth, shiny white pearl lay on her palm. Goodness me, Grandfather exclaimed. This is very special indeed. Where did you find it? Asked Grandfather. Inside a shell, Aisha told him, in a rock pool. She felt in her pockets for the shell. Lucky you, Grandfather said. Pearls are difficult to find nowadays. An oyster would have lived in this shell, he told her. Have you ever seen one? Aisha shook her head. An oyster is soft, Grandfather said, and if a grain of sand gets into its shell and tickles it, the oyster makes a pearl round it. The longer it stays in the shell, the bigger the pearl grows.
Wow.
Oh, how long was my pearl inside the shell? Aisha asked. A few years, I should think. It's quite big and it's a beautiful colour. Grandfather said, I think you found a treasure. A pearl diver would have been very happy. Long ago, he told her, before the discovery of oil, the men who lived here in the Arabian Gulf would go out to sea to dive for pearls. It was a tough life, full of hardship and danger. Why? Aisha asked. Her father loved to go diving. He wore a wetsuit, a mask and flippers. Grandfather smiled. He took his sketchbook down from the shelf. There was no fancy equipment, he told her. Just a peg on your nose and a heavy stone on a rope to take you down to the seabed as fast as possible.
No tank of air to breathe underwater. A pearl diver had to hold his breath while he collected the oyster shells. When he couldn't hold it any longer, he tugged on a rope to tell his partner on the deck to pull him up.
Have you been pearl diving? Aisha asked.
Grandfather shook his head. No, but my father went to sea and dived for pearls. Sometimes he'd tell me stories about those days.
Oh, please will you tell me one, Grandfather? Aisha asked. The old man stroked his chin.
Let's see, he said.
What's that?
What can you see here?
What can you see?
A shark.
Yeah.
Well, once some of the divers found an old wreck lying on the seabed, but they didn't know that a huge shark lived in it. It surprised them and chased them.
Did they get away?
Aisha asked anxiously. Grandfather nodded, but not before the shark sank its teeth into a diver's leg.
Oh, ouch. Ooh.
Aisha gasped. And then?
My father punched it on the nose and the shark let go. But things didn't always end well. Sometimes divers ran out of breath. They were burnt by the sun and felt dizzy and sick, and they didn't have enough water to drink. Sea urchins and rays could give you a nasty sting, but they wore cotton suits to protect them when jellyfish were around. There were good times too, Grandfather told her. The men helped each other. They lived together like brothers, and they slept under the stars and sang songs and shared stories. Grandfather smiled. Sometimes the Nahuda, the captain, rewarded a diver who found a really special pearl. And when Allah answered their prayers, they went back to their families at the end of the season and had a big feast to celebrate their safe return.
Did your mother go pearl diving as well? Aisha asked.
Grandfather chuckled. A pearling sandbook was no place for a woman, he said. Besides, she had more than enough work to do at home.
Well, Aisha wasn't so sure. She thought she would have made a very good pearl diver. She could see herself diving deeper than anyone else and bringing up the very best pearl of all. Now, she had an idea. Ooh. Now, remember I said how much I liked play acting and pretending?
Oh, this is interesting.
Well, I put that into my story about Aisha. So if you were Aisha and you were going to pretend to be a pearl diver, what might you need? What could you find in the house or the garden that might help you to become a pearl diver? Yes? A rope.
Wow, excellent.
So that's a good idea, some rope.
Let's clap for her. That's a good idea.
And what do you think she might need on the end of the rope?
A stone.
Oh, excellent.
Here's one I made earlier.
Julia's so strong, mashallah.
This isn't quite as heavy as the sinking stone, but here we have a stone from the garden and a rope,
And a rope,
from
wow.
the shed.
Would you like to be Aisha?
Oh, I'd love to be Aisha.
Well, you don't know what I'm going to ask you to do.
Oh, no, I'm scared now.
What else does she need? She could have something to sail in. What's she going to sail in?
What?
A cardboard box. Can anybody see one?
A boat, yeah, I need a
Can
boat.
you point to the cardboard box? Can everybody see it?
Oh,
You must
there
have
it
got magic eyes. This could be Aisha's boat.
is. Oh, no.
Maitha, did you know I was going to ask you to get into the boat?
Oh, my God. No, I'm afraid.
Well, you just have to be very careful.
How
Now,
am I
don't forget your rope.
How am I going to get inside this boat?
Okay.
Well, let me gather my robes.
Okay, here's your rock. And what does she need on her nose? A peg. So where's she going to find a peg, do you think?
Who uses pegs? Put your hand up if you know who uses pegs. What do you do with pegs?
We hang what?
You put the washing out, don't you? You peg the washing out.
Yeah, so we need to, yeah. Oh dear. Again, my big nose would never fit here.
Well, pretend.
Okay.
And, what about the sea?
The sea, what could be the sea? We've got a lovely decor here, but what do you think?
I
what
think
would be
something blue.
Ah, that's
Something
the ocean.
blue, a blue cloth. Shall we put the sea down here?
Yes.
Okay, and you can put the boat at the edge of the sea, that's right.
Yes.
And what's she looking for? Pearls, that's right, oysters. So let's give her an oyster shell and a pearl.
But before that, I think I should get inside my boat. Do you
Yes,
think this
I
boat
think you
would fit
should.
me? Do you think I fit in there? Raise your hands if you think I fit in.
Yes, you can, come
Okay,
on.
most of them think. And put your hands down. Raise your hands if you think I should really get inside this box. Oh my God! Everyone wants me to get
Can
inside.
I help you?
No, well, let's see. Okay. Oh, I can get in.
There's your sinking stone.
Row, row, row your boat gently down.
It's
the
not a
stream.
stream, you're in the sea.
Oh, okay. I think
Okay,
they used to sing songs when they go on the sea.
Well, that's true. We could sing that together,
I think
couldn't
they
we?
would say, "Oh, Yamal, oh, Yamal."
Oh, lovely. I like it. I tell you what, let's all join in and be Aisha. So can you stand up? And first of all, you're going to put a peg on your nose. Okay. Climb into your boat.
Let's all climb. Come on, I'm
Climb
not
into
the
your
only
purling
one.
sandbook. Okay. And imagine your rock on a rope. All right. So the rock on the rope goes in the water, but don't leave go at the end. Now, you're going to climb out into the sea and hold onto the side of the boat.
Okay, I broke something.
And can we have, before we go down into the water, do you think we could have a great big splash noise?
Oh, maybe, yeah. Let's all together make a big splash.
I think we've got a great big splash noise coming. We're going to go down to the bottom very, very quickly. Take a big deep breath. Down we go. Okay, while you're at the bottom, can you feel for the oyster shells? Are you feeling for the oyster shells, Aisha? Come into the sea, Aisha. Okay. Look.
I broke that shell.
Oh, you're a very naughty person.
Let's look for shells.
Have you found some shells? Put them in your basket. Oh. And when you've not got any breath left, can you tug on the rope?
Let's all tug.
And get pulled up to the surface very, very quickly.
Can I let go of my breath right now?
Well done. Well done, everybody. Thank you, Maitha.
And I found a pearl.
Oh, wow. Here we are.
Here we are. And it's inside the beautiful oyster. How do they get it out, by the way?
Oh, they use a knife. Here's, look, like this.
So whoops. These pearls are naughty.
These pearls are running away.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what the shells looked like. And they sat in their boats and opened the shells. And if they were really lucky, there was a pearl inside. Okay. Shall we finish the story and see if that's what Aisha did?
Let's see.
I think you're right. When Grandfather went for his nap, Aisha had an idea. First, she had to find a few things. A rock from the garden, some rope from Papa's shed, a clothes peg from the laundry room, and her mother's shiny blue tablecloth. A big cardboard box caught her eye. It was perfect, she dragged everything into her secret place under the table. And soon, the tablecloth became the sea, and the box a boat. Aisha hid the shell with the pearl inside it amongst the creases in the blue tablecloth. She sat inside the box and put the peg on her nose. She tied the rope round the rock and jumped overboard into the sea of blue tablecloth. Holding her breath, she swam amongst imaginary fishes. Avoiding sharp rocks and giant clams and the fiery tails of rays, she gathered oyster shells from the seabed. And when she couldn't hold her breath any longer, she swam to the surface and climbed back into her boat. She opened the shell, and there was her pearl. She held it up, and she could hear all the divers cheering. She was right. She made an excellent pearl diver.
Indeed.
After a few more dives, how do you think she felt? Sleepy. She curled up inside her boat with the pearl clutched in her hand and closed her eyes just for a little nap. Soon, she was fast asleep. She didn't hear her mother calling her name. She didn't hear her sister Mosa. And she didn't hear her brother Abdullah. I know where she will be, said Grandfather. When Aisha woke up, she found 4 pairs of eyes looking at her. We've been worried, said her mother. We've been calling you, said Abdullah. We couldn't find you, said Mosa. But Grandfather smiled. Did you have a good trip? He asked. Aisha nodded. She held out her hand and uncurled her fingers. Look, she cried. Look what I've found.
We hope you enjoyed our adventure. I had a fantastic time imagining, that we were going on that boat. And
Well, you did, didn't you?
yeah, I could get in there. I thought I would never get inside.
Do you know what, Maitha? I think we've got time for maybe 3 questions, if anybody wants to ask us a question.
Well, I wonder if I could be a pearl diver when I grow up.
That's a very good question. What do you think? What do you think?
I think that when I was a pearl diver, I could find 8,000 pearls.
Oh, wow. Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
So maybe Aisha would go diving for
I
pearls.
can hold my breath for a long, long time.
Yes, very good. But if you were Aisha, because she lives today, she could wear a mask and a wetsuit.
Yeah, the diving suit.
And she could wear flippers on her feet. And what would she have on her back?
What's on the back when you go diving under the sea? What's that?
Yes? Oxygen, a tank of air.
Oh, yes.
So it would be much easier for her to go diving today than it was for the pearl divers in the old days, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Thank you for this
Well
lovely
done.
question. Well done.
Right. All right.
How long did it take you to be an author?
Oh, wow.
Well, that's a very good question. I've been writing stories now for the last 20 years.
Wow.
The first real story, The Pearl Diver, took me a whole year with research. That's finding things out and interviewing people and asking questions and then making up the story and the characters. But this story came quite quickly into my head.
You're an expert. That's why now.
Sorry?
You're an expert now because
I'm
when
an
you
expert. I don't think so.
But when you practice doing something again and again and
That's
again,
very true.
Yeah,
You get better at it and you get quicker at it. And but I had to rewrite this story a lot of times to make it just right.
Yes. For me, it took about 12 years. How old are you? 6. So, who is 12 years old over here? Who's 12 years old? No one? No 12-year-old? So, it was about 12 years ago when I started writing for me.
Who here would like to be a writer?
Ooh,
Who would like to be an illustrator?
Illustrator, yes.
Brilliant.
Yes, amazing.
Okay, so keep practicing and then maybe you will be.
I'm learning about pearl diving at my school.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Great. Thank you for sharing that with us.
And I bet when you go back to school, you're going to tell the students and your friends and the teacher that you've learned even more things about pearl diving, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're an expert now. You've seen lots of things.
Okay, very last question. Thank you for yours.
How much time it took to be a pearl diver?
How much time?
It took to be a pearl diver.
Oh, that's an excellent,
It is a very good question. Do you know, I think some pearl divers couldn't swim, but they went diving. I suppose they had a rope to help them come up out of the sea. So I don't think they practiced for very long before becoming a pearl diver, but the more they dived, the more experienced they became, the better they became at diving and holding their breath and finding the oyster shells.
Yeah.
So obviously the practice made them better.
Yeah.
But
I think the practice was more about practicing holding your breath.
Yes.
More than actually, the pearl diving, because all they had to do was just splash and dive and just look. But the most important thing was how long can they hold their breath?
And obviously the best pearl divers were the ones who could hold their breath the longest. Thank you so much for listening to our story and sharing it with us.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for that wonderful and imaginative presentation. Quick few thanks to the AV team, to our wonderful volunteers, to our title sponsor Emirates Airlines, our founding partner Dubai Culture, the Emirates Literature Foundation,